Chargers Now is presented by Prize Picks. I am your host, Will Ortner, and we are going to be breaking down the Chargers' 2 picks so far through the first 2 days of the 2026 NFL Draft. I'll tell you what, I'm very happy with everything that General Manager Joe Hortiz has done. Let's talk about Akheem Mesidor, the edge for the Miami Hurricanes. Someone that I think is going to be very successful in the National Football League. We've also talked about him before in how we liked the fact that the Chargers went out and took Akheem Mesidor. I think he's going to be an elite rusher for this team, and I only believe that he is going to help this team grow. The only reason why he ended up falling all the way to pick number 22 is because, of course, he is 25 years old, and for most NFL head coaches and scouting departments, that unfortunately is, I don't know, very Leonardo DiCaprio of them, and that is not good enough. That is too old. Dane Brugler had this to say on Akheem Mesidor. Mesidor won't be universally loved because of the age and injury history, but he is just a disruptive force off the edge who's always playing 100 miles per hour. He projects as a 3-down NFL starter with interior value on some packages. Could not agree more with Brugler there, and I'm telling you right now, I think Mesidor is going to be a big-time player for this team. We'll get into the day 2 picks and the grades here in just a moment, as well as some day 3 targets. But first, I got to let you know that this show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports pick app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. With playoff basketball finally here, there's no better time to cash in with our friends at Prize Picks. And I'll tell you this, the app is really easy to use. To qualify for a Prize Picks lineup, pick 2 to 6 players and select more or less on stat projections, including points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers, and several others across all sports. If you're more of a baseball guy, you can choose stats such as hits, home runs, and strikeouts. With a new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. That includes me and producer Searle. You follow us on Prize Picks and get the picks before they even get posted on the show. I have a lineup for the football action going on later on this year. Fernando Mendoza, less on his regular season games started. Jeremiah Love, less on his rush yards. Jordan Tyson, more on his receiving yards. New user offer. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Clickable link to download the app is in the comments and description. All right, last season, obviously, Mesidor was like a bat out of you-know-what. He was freaking awesome all season long as an edge rusher for the Miami Hurricanes. Got after the quarterback, created a ton of havoc, got a ton of pressures. Not necessarily the best against the run, but not bad either. Great when it comes to his bend. You can see from his last 4 seasons, when the kid is healthy, no one is better than him. The problem is, he's got a couple of injuries and he's got a couple of bugaboos there. But when he's been healthy, he's been someone that I think has done a very good job. He is someone that I believe is only going to continue to grow and make this team look really, really, really freaking good. Why I like this pick, first of all, it's the player. If he's not 25 years old, he's a top 10 pick. Akheem Mesidor is elite as an edge rusher, and he's great off the edge. When I look at his athleticism, I think he projects as a player that's going to be in the National Football League for quite some time. No one can bend the way that Mesidor bends while keeping their speed at the same rate. And next, I love his roster fit. You had to find a way to replace Odafe Oweh. And the best way to replace Odafe Oweh is by signing Akheem Mesidor for less than $100 million a year. Mesidor is going to get you that same production. He's going to be penciled in right away as your backup to Khalil Mack. He can learn from Khalil Mack, grow next to Khalil Mack, and end up taking over that spot in a year or two. And, of course, the next best thing about him and my final thoughts here. I believe that while most people look at 25 and say that's too old, I think it's an instant plug and play for him. I think that he starts off really hot for this Chargers team, and I think it's a great pick, and Charger fans are going to be very fired up to have him. What are your thoughts on the Mesidor pick? Let us know down below in the comment section. Obviously, that was the day one pick for the Chargers. Kind of wanted to go in a little bit more of a deeper dive there on him. Now, let's get ready to talk about the one day two pick that the Chargers had. Now, they were supposed to have a couple, but that didn't end up happening, right? The Chargers, they were, of course, supposed to have multiple, but they ended up getting Jake Slaughter, the center from Florida. Now, you're going to look at that Jake Slaughter pick and say, round 2, pick 63, that's not where the Chargers were supposed to be. Well, they weren't supposed to be there because, well, the Chargers, they ended up making a trade with the New England Patriots. And that ended up giving them an opportunity to go in and take Slaughter. So when I look at this, I'm telling you right now, this trade is great because, one, the New England Patriots moved up to 55. They didn't take anyone that the Chargers necessarily wanted. Chargers moved back to pick 63, but they get a 4th-round pick in this draft and a 6th-round pick in this draft. And that allows this Chargers team to not only go and grab a player in a position that they needed to go and grab a player in, but you get more draft capital later on. Let's look at the scouting report on Slaughter, and I'll explain more in just one moment. The kid is very impressive, fits well into a zone-heavy scheme. What are you going to run in Los Angeles? It's going to be a zone-heavy scheme. He moves very well. He's a 2-year captain. Now, he was a center at the last spot he was at. He's going to be a guard with you because you don't go and get Tyler Biadasz and then make Jake Slaughter your starting center, and he can move into center if Biadasz ends up not working out or moving on. Now, he might be a little bit injury or penalty prone. Teach the damn guy to not hold on to people. Use your hands. You don't got to hang on. Don't be a grabber. When we look at the testing numbers, he obviously doesn't have the greatest 40. Doesn't need to. He's an offensive lineman. None of the numbers jump out there as scary. Slaughter is someone that Dane Brugler is very proud of and very high on. Slaughter doesn't have overwhelming traits, but he consistently does his job by using controlled movements, stout strength, and veteran processing skills. With his makeup, he should compete for starting center snaps as a rookie. And I really like that, and that is why I like this pick. First of all, I like the player. He's clearly a guy that works hard and gets the most out of his body, and that's all that you can ask for. As an athlete perspective, he's easy to bounce over into that guard position. He can grow, maybe take over as a center one day, but I definitely like the position that he's in. For a roster fit, you need interior offensive line help. The offensive line is dog-s awful right now at those 2 guard positions, of course, for the Chargers. Now, Slaughter, he's going to be marked in as a center. I'm telling you, he's going to be fighting it out with Trevor Penning for that left guard position. And then last but not least, my final thoughts here. I just think that you get a guy that is going to be able to be here for the long term. You get a guy that's going to be here for quite some time in Los Angeles. He's going to help build this team. When I look at my Chargers draft grades, I think that Akheem Mesidor is an easy A+. I just think that is so obvious. It is easy to say that. I love that pick there. I think Slaughter is more of a B+, and this is personally just because I would have rather had like an Emmanuel Pregnon potentially. I know Basantis was already off the board, didn't have an opportunity there, but I really do like Slaughter. Now, the reason why there wasn't another pick for the Chargers is they traded pick number 86 away to the Cleveland Browns. This, of course, allowed them to get pick number 105 in the 4th round, pick 145 in the 5th round, and pick 206 in the 6th round. I believe that this is a great decision by the Chargers, and general manager Joe Hortiz is dominating this draft right now. The Chargers made it very clear they wanted to get more draft picks. They needed to find a way to be able to get more picks in this draft. And now, all of a sudden, you have a whole crap load. Let's look at some day 3 targets. First, we're going to start on the offensive side. Of course, the Chargers could go and get one of the top wide receivers that are still available. Elijah Surratt, Brennan Thompson, Bryce Lance, all guys to name there. Tight end, they could potentially want to go and get someone to be next to Gadsden, go get Justin Jolly. And then, of course, Jalen Farmer. If you want to grab another interior offensive lineman, you still have an option there. Let's look at our defensive targets. Jermon McCoy, Keontae Scott, two guys that could potentially go off the board very quickly. In fact, the fact that Jermon McCoy hasn't gone off the board is a bit shocking to everyone. I wonder how that knee is. You could go get another edge rusher, although you don't necessarily need to. It could be something that you make an even greater strength with the nice Dennis Sutton. And then Keith Abney and Malik Muhammad. Those are some other options for them in those defensive back rooms. The Chargers, they went from having 2 picks on day 3 to now they have 7. 3 4th-rounders, a 5th-rounder, and 3 6th-round picks. You are going to hear your favorite team in LA called 1,000 times tomorrow. So expect a lot of videos. And when you expect a lot of videos, that is why you subscribe to the channel. We want to make sure we get those videos out to you so that you don't miss any of the news on your favorite team. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Bolt up.